brass handle turns cold in Mike Torres's weathered hand as he pushes open the heavy door. The fluorescent lights hit his eyes first, then the silence. 5 generals stand frozen around a metal table covered in satellite photos and red-marked maps. Their silver stars catch the overhead light as they all turn toward him at once. Torres stops breathing. This isn't Conference Room B where he's supposed to pick up supply reports. This is something else entirely. Something he was never meant to see. The photos on the table show desert compounds and enemy positions. Names and faces he recognizes from classified briefings years ago. His pulse quickens, but his face stays stone still. General Morrison, a man with steel-gray hair and 3 decades of command experience, squints at Torres through wire-rimmed glasses. His voice cuts through the silence like a blade. Wait, aren't you supposed to be dead? Before continuing the story, let us know in the comments what city are you watching this story from. Torres feels his throat tighten, but he doesn't move, doesn't speak. The other generals exchange glances. Their conversation stopped mid-sentence. Papers rustle as someone tries to cover the satellite images. But it's too late. Torres has already seen everything. Sorry, sir, Torres finally says, his voice steady despite the hammering in his chest. Wrong room. He starts to back out, but General Morrison raises a hand. Stay put, Marine. The door clicks shut behind Torres. He's trapped now, standing at attention while 5 of the most powerful men in the military study him like he's a ghost that just walked through their wall. For 3 years, Torres has been invisible. Room 2B47 the Pentagon basement, filing reports that nobody reads. His desk sits in a corner where the heating pipes bang and the coffee tastes like rust. Most days, he sees maybe 2 people. The cleaning lady who empties his trash and the young corporal who delivers mail to the wrong office twice a week. His name disappeared from the active duty rosters, somewhere between his last deployment and his first day pushing papers. The payroll department still cuts his checks, but if anyone asked, they'd probably say Staff Sergeant Mike Torres retired years ago or died. The records are fuzzy on purpose. People walk past his office without looking inside. When they do see him in the hallways, they assume he's just another lifer counting down days until his pension kicks in. Nobody asks about the thin white scars that web across his knuckles, or why he never talks about where he's been. In the Marine Corps, some questions don't get asked. Torres learned to like being forgotten. It's peaceful, safe, no expectations, no missions, no lives depending on the choices he makes in the dark. But right now, standing in this briefing room full of generals, peaceful feels like a luxury he can't afford. The alarm starts screaming before anyone can speak again. Red lights flash in the hallway outside. The building's emergency system kicks in with mechanical precision. NIST, blast doors sliding shut, elevators locking down, security protocols engaging throughout the Pentagon. Torres watches the generals scatter. Morrison barks orders into his phone while another general runs for the secure communications panel. Papers fly as someone sweeps the classified photos into a briefcase. But Torres doesn't run. He doesn't panic. While everyone else moves in straight lines toward exits, Torres maps the room in his head. 2 doors, the one he came through, and an emergency exit behind the projection screen. Windows too small for escape but large enough for observation. Heavy table that could provide cover. Ventilation shaft in the northeast corner that would take a man Torres' size if necessary. His eyes count the seconds between alarm pulses. 15 seconds. Standard Pentagon lockdown protocol. Not an attack, just a drill or a security breach somewhere in the building. He notices what the generals don't. The maintenance worker who was mopping the hallway when Torres walked to the wrong room. The man wore the right uniform and carried the right equipment, but his boots were too clean, his hands too soft, and maintenance crews don't work the classified levels during operational hours. Torres files the information away without thinking about it. Old habits. The alarms stop as suddenly as they started. Emergency lighting fades back to normal fluorescence. The generals slowly return to their positions around the table, but the mood has changed. Morrison studies Torres with new interest. You didn't run, Morrison says. No, sir. Why not? Torres considers the question. Seemed like a drill, sir. How did you know? The timing, the pattern. Real emergencies don't sound like clockwork. Morrison nods slowly. He pulls out his phone and makes a call. Torres can't hear the words, but he watches the general's expression change from curiosity to something that looks like recognition. 3 days later, Morrison storms into Torres's forgotten office, carrying a manila folder thick with classified stamps. He doesn't knock, doesn't wait for permission, just pushes through the door and drops the folder on Torres' desk like it weighs 1,000 pounds. "I need someone who doesn't officially exist for this mission," Morrison says. Torres looks at the folder but doesn't touch it. The classification level is higher than anything he's seen in years, higher than anything a file clerk should ever see. "Sir, I think you have the wrong man." "Do I?" Morrison opens the folder and slides out 8 by 10 photographs. The faces stare up at Torres from glossy paper. Enemy commanders, weapons dealers, men who've killed American soldiers and disappeared into the desert like smoke. Torres recognizes every face. The same men from the satellite photos in the briefing room. The same targets he tracked through 3 countries and 2 years of night raids before the world forgot he existed. His hands stay flat on the desk, but Morrison sees the recognition in his eyes. "These men are planning something big," Morrison says. "Something that will cost American lives if we don't stop it. I need someone who can get close, someone they won't see coming." "Why me?" Morrison's smile is thin and sharp. "Because officially, you're nobody. Unofficially?" He pauses. "Unofficially, you're the only man who ever got close enough to touch them and lived to tell about it." Torres stares at the photographs. The faces haven't aged much in 5 years. Same cold eyes, same arrogant smiles, same complete certainty that they're untouchable. "What makes you think I can do it again?" "Because the first time, you had a team, equipment, and official support. This time, you'll have something better." Morrison leans forward. "This time, you'll be invisible." 2 floors up, in a windowless room full of monitors and filing cabinets, Colonel Sarah Chen pulls a dusty box from a high shelf. The label reads, "Operation Sanjost, Classified Personal Files." She sets the box on a metal table and removes the lid. Inside, dozens of folders contain the records of men who officially don't exist. Men who died on paper so their families could sleep at night. Men who chose to disappear rather than live with the weight of what they'd done in America's name. Chen finds the folder she's looking for. Torres, Michigan Gallet, Staff Sergeant, Deceased, Classified. She opens it to the first page. A photograph shows Torres, 5 years younger, standing with his unit after a successful mission. His eyes are different then, sharper, hungrier. The eyes of a man who believed he could save the world one operation at a time. The mission report is mostly redacted, but Chen knows the story. 18 American soldiers captured behind enemy lines. 0 chance of rescue through official channels. Torres volunteered to lead an unauthorized extraction. He brought them all home. But the mission went public. Enemy forces learned how American special operations worked. They adapted. They killed more American soldiers in the following months, using tactics designed to counter everything Torres had taught them. So Torres made a choice. He died on paper. Let the world think Miguel Torres was killed in action, buried with full honors, mourned as a hero. The real Torres became a file clerk in a basement office, pushing papers and staying invisible. Chen closes the file and picks up her secure phone. Colonel Davis answers on the first ring. "Sarah? What's so urgent it couldn't wait for the morning briefing?" "Jim, I need you to listen carefully. Do you remember Operation Sandghost?" A long pause. "That operation never happened." "Officially, you're right. Unofficially, I'm looking at video footage from 5 years ago. Torres led the team that brought 18 men home from an impossible situation." She slides a DVD into her computer and watches the grainy footage. Night vision cameras show Torres moving through an enemy compound like a shadow. No wasted motion, no hesitation. He neutralizes guards, locates prisoners, and coordinates the extraction with surgical precision. He saved those men, Chen continues. Then he chose to disappear when the mission compromised future operations. He's been filing reports in the basement ever since, protecting the families of the soldiers he saved. Why are you telling me this? Because Morrison is sending him back into the field. Torres doesn't know that we know who he really is. He thinks he's forgotten. But men like Torres are never really forgotten. Davis is quiet for a long moment. What do you need from me? Watch over him, from a distance. If this goes wrong, if Torres gets burned, I want eyes on the situation. Copy that. Chen hangs up and stares at the monitor. Torres appears and disappears in the footage like a ghost, leaving no trace except the American soldiers who walk out alive. Some heroes, she thinks, choose their own legends. 3 weeks later, Torres returns to room 2B47, carrying nothing but a small duffel bag and a folder of completed paperwork. The mission details will never appear in any official report, but the photographs of enemy commanders now sit in different folders marked terminated instead of active threat. He settles into his desk chair and opens his laptop. The routine feels comfortable after weeks in the field. Hot coffee, morning reports, the steady rhythm of administrative work that nobody notices. Torres pulls out a fresh form and begins typing his final report. Not about the mission, that story will stay classified forever. Just a simple document requesting retirement after 22 years of service. He signs his name at the bottom and seals the form in an envelope addressed to Personnel Command. Tomorrow, he'll submit it through official channels. In 6 months, Staff Sergeant Miguel Torres will receive an honorable discharge and fade into civilian life. The same invisibility he's practiced for 3 years, but with a pension and the freedom to choose where he disappears. Torres stands and walks to the door, duffel bag over his shoulder and retirement papers in his hand. The hallway is empty except for a young Marine carrying a stack of supply reports toward the elevator. Private First Class Williams sees Torres approaching and automatically steps aside to let him pass. But instead of walking by, Torres stops and looks at the young Marine. Williams has the same eager expression Torres remembers wearing 20 years ago, ready to save the world, one mission at a time. Hold on, Torres says quietly. Williams stops and comes to attention. Yes, Staff Sergeant. Torres reaches for the heavy door Williams is struggling to open while carrying his reports. He pulls it wide and holds it steady. Thank you, Staff Sergeant, Williams says, genuinely grateful. As Williams passes through, Torres notices the young Marine's bearing change slightly. His shoulders straighten, his step becomes more confident. He nods once, a gesture of respect between Marines, before continuing down the hallway. Torres watches him go. Word travels fast in the Corps, even about ghosts, especially about ghosts who choose to step out of the shadows just long enough to help a young Marine through a door. He releases the handle and walks toward the exit, knowing that some stories end not with fanfare or recognition, but with small acts of service that echo longer than any medal. The Pentagon swallows his footsteps as Staff Sergeant Miguel Torres disappears one final time, leaving behind only the memory of a man who served his country so quietly that most people never knew he was there at all.